Okay, so in this video, we're going to be giving you a full e-commerce SMS marketing guide from end to end. This is a guide that we've used to generate over $9 million for our clients just from SMS marketing. It's a channel that a lot of people sleep on quite a lot, and it's a channel that used to have some hype around it, but now people don't talk about, despite it being pretty much as effective as ever. SMS is a really unique channel that has characteristics that basically no other channel has, such as the fact that everyone is going to see your messages definitely, even if they haven't clicked into them or clicked on the link. We know that they've seen them, just as you know if you receive texts from your friends where you maybe don't reply to it right then, but you make a mental note to reply to it later, and then you do. Everyone will see your messages in SMS. It's a super strong channel, and it also shows a huge sort of liking for your brand from all of these subscribers that they're actually willing for you to text them. So we're going to be going through SMS marketing from end to end. We're going to be showing you how to pick the right software to use. We're going to be showing you how to grow an SMS list really effectively. We're going to be showing you how to use SMS flows to automate a ton of your revenue here. Make sure you have the right touch points for people at all stages of the customer journey. We're also going to show you how to segment your list and keep your ROI as high as humanly possible through that segmentation. We're going to show you our campaign strategy then in the finish to show you how to generate the maximum amount of revenue from the channel once your list is growing and your flows are in a strong position. So SMS is a super unique channel. It's one that's not very well understood. That's why I want to go really deep with you guys in this video and show you exactly how to manage the platform from end to end. So without further ado, let's begin. So like we said, SMS is quite a specialist channel. You won't have anywhere near as many subscribers as an email, but it has those key distinctions that we spoke about in the beginning of this video. We're going to be using it a little bit differently to email, but it will be a really strong revenue channel if executed correctly. So let's start at the very beginning and show you which software that you should be using for your SMS marketing. The first thing I want to say in this section is that there's no real one correct answer here in SMS. There are a ton of really good platforms out there, and it can often be hard to distinguish between which is the absolute best carrier for you. We use all kinds of different softwares for our clients. We use Klaviyo, we use SendLane, we use PostScript, we use SMS Bump, we use Attentive, Emotive, OneText, and even Recart. We have used that platform before also. It's not listed here, it should be, but you can just see that we use a ton of platforms and a lot of them are really good. What you're going to pick will depend on what your carrier offers you. You could be with one of these carriers here and they could be offering you a really good rate because you've been with them for years, so that can be something to keep in mind. But we use Klaviyo and SendLane for most of our clients, and I'm going to show you the exact reasons why in just a second. The reason that we like to keep the SMS marketing function within the email marketing software also is for a number of reasons. So it gives you a really good visibility of performance beside email to see how well the two channels are faring against one another. It gives you really good attribution because you can actually see everything alongside one another. You won't have this double attribution thing that you may have if you're using two separate platforms. That can often happen. And also I think that email platforms often give a bit more of that preference to email, so you can kind of see that the SMS revenue doesn't look ridiculous, which I think is a little bit more fair in terms of attribution on the whole compared to some platforms we've used. You also have the ease of sending alongside campaigns, so you can put in an email campaign and an SMS campaign to go out at the exact same time, or you could vary up the timing there a little bit, but you can send those alongside one another, which is a really nice benefit to just have everything in one place. And the final thing is that you can put SMS messages directly into your email flows, which is obviously a massive benefit just from a usability perspective. So you can actually map out that journey the exact way that you want to do it in your mind. So what I want to do now is go a little bit deeper on what we spoke about in the beginning of this video and show you why SMS is different and a number of unique things that we've noticed from using it for the last number of years. One thing that SMS has that literally no other platform has is that every single person sees your message even if they don't click it. With email marketing, someone has to check their inbox at roughly the right time. They have to see your subject line and then open the email to see your message. But in SMS, this isn't the case. Just think how many times you've seen a message come up from a family member or a friend and you were busy at that moment, but you made a mental note to respond to it later. That has still made an impression on you, just like an email from an e-commerce brand would make an impression on you, and no other platform really has that effect. So at the very least, you'll see really that 95% of people will at least sort of have an impression of that message, and maybe they then see an ad later, or they open an email, or they just search your brand up, and that could lead them to making a purchase. So no other marketing channel has this characteristic, and I think that's a really cool factor with SMS. I also want to say that recipients are generally higher intent than email subscribers. If someone signs up to your SMS list, it's way different than really signing up to an email list because it can often feel a little bit more invasive. You know, you can ignore emails slightly, but you really can't with text messages, so it's quite a different undertaking on the whole. If someone is on your SMS list, they're far more likely to be super into your brand, and as a result, they're far more likely to buy, both in terms of higher quantity of orders and also to actually spend more with your brand. As you can see here, you can see how many times these people have clicked text messages and actually gone and placed orders. You can see that this is super high level of engagement from these customers. You can see that they click quite often. They go onto the website quite often and they place orders quite often. You would not see this really with email subscribers. This is generally mostly reserved for your SMS subscribers, your regulars, your highest value customers. They are really, really active on SMS for the most part. I do want to note one thing as well here that not a lot of people talk about, which is that some people actually prefer SMS marketing to email marketing. Now, this is not most people, I would not say, but it can be better from a user experience perspective because a lot of people just want to get short and to the point updates. As you can see here with this person who actually unsubscribed from email marketing but remains subscribed to SMS and is still clicking SMSs and still placing orders in this brand's case. So this is a really unique case, like I'm saying, but a lot of people actually prefer SMS marketing, even if it's not most people. Now, like I just touched on, and kind of the caveat to my previous point is that while some people prefer SMS, a lot of people can get annoyed by the channel. You will see far more unsubscribes in SMS than you will in email, normally by quite a bit of margin. You can see here, this is average SMS unsubscribe rates up here, and you can see average email unsubscribe rates here. This is the 25th percentile, as is this. These two are the 50th percentile, so the median, and these two are the 75th percentile. And you can see that we're looking at between 4 and 5x more unsubscribes at each level within SMS. So yes, you can have some people who prefer getting SMS marketing, but I would not say that this is most people. And so you just want to factor that in with your strategy to make sure that you don't annoy people. SMS is also more expensive than email marketing. You'll pay around 1 cent per text in most platforms. That's roughly 10x more expensive than email marketing, if not more. And it gets more expensive if you use MMS, which I'm going to get to in just a second. So you need to be factoring in that ROI percent at all times to get the most out of the platform. Please, if you take one thing away from this video, we're going to be fleshing this out a lot later on in the video. Please make it be this: you need to be factoring in your ROI at all stages of SMS. I also wanted to put in how MMS doesn't necessarily outperform SMS, and it's usually around 10x more expensive. So MMS is basically the message that you're seeing here on the left. It is a multimedia message send, meaning it has an image, versus a short message send, which is what SMS stands for. Basically, when you have an image versus not having an image, and you can see here an MMS alongside an SMS. Yes, the left-hand side might be a decent brand play, but it's needlessly expensive in most cases, and we have not really seen MMS to massively outperform SMS, and we have seen cases where MMS has actually noticeably underperformed versus SMS. That can be rare, but just to note that MMS and SMS, not really much of a difference in ROI. Some cases where you would use MMS would be, let's say, a welcome text, maybe an abandoned checkout text that shows them their product dynamically, potentially for a new product release, but other than that, we like to stick to mostly SMS for our clients. Another unique factor with SMS is that flows outperform campaigns by roughly 9 to 1 in our experience from a revenue per recipient perspective. So this is anecdata. I do not know if this would hold for every single brand, but it's just something that we've noticed for ourselves. So those automated SMS flows, because they're quite intent-based, let's say particularly with our abandonment series of flows, you're going to see higher revenue per recipients there than campaigns sent to your general list. So we want to make sure that our flows are strong and that we only send campaigns for the right reason as a result here when we know we're going to drive revenue. Finally, on these points here that we've noticed, most campaigns revenue will come from 30 to 40% of your subscribers. So make sure to segment correctly. So we talked about how SMS is quite expensive, so we need to be factoring this into our campaign sends also and just be targeted there. And you can see here in a case where we have been targeted, we spent $51.81. We take this as 1 cent per send here to generate 3.7K in return. We want home runs like these as often as possible. We're going to show you how to do this later on in the video. Now, I'm sure you've noticed here that while we have 7 points here, they actually all are quite interconnected and related. And we can boil these down to use a couple of principles thereafter in order to make sure that our SMS strategy is as strong as possible. These are essentially making sure that we send the right messages to the right people, making sure that we prioritize our list growth, and making sure that we keep our expenses in mind at all times. So that is how we can distill things down. You can see here that's actually quite simple, even though we have 7 different things that we needed to factor in there. So let's start with growing the list. There are many ways to do this, but I'm going to show you the 2 ways that will give you 90% plus of the benefit here, which are a strong pop-up form and then pushing your email subscribers over to your SMS list as regularly as you can. Through a well-optimized pop-up form, we can drive a ton of SMS phone numbers. Now, ironically, if you have these on the one form and you require both an email and an SMS to be input for the form to be submitted, you will ironically actually see less SMS numbers overall than if you had split this out to multiple forms and collected email first. So I have some great examples here of a quick spin to win offer here from Cozy House, which then goes through to a free shipping offer, which goes email to then SMS. Really nicely designed pop-up. This here from Brew Bike, it's a really, really strong pop-up. And you can see here this multiple steps thing really starting to be fleshed out. Champ, excellent marketing from this brand on the whole. You can just see how they make this all play out in terms of their email to SMS. And then finally here from Kin, you can see a free shipping offer and just doing it in multiple steps. Now, we will often see around 30 to 40% of an uptake on SMS from people who've submitted their email. This means if we get a 7% conversion rate on email in a multiple step form, we'll often see between 2.1 and 2.8% of overall people will give us their phone number from there. So this can actually drive up the overall number of SMS numbers that you get from having things on separate forms. So I highly, highly recommend this with your pop-up. Make it well designed, put it into multiple steps. Ideally have a yes no question beforehand, like you can see here with the spin to win. That'll drive up your conversion rates on the whole. That's a really, really good way to structure your pop-up to get as many phone numbers as possible. We also want to use our email list. And if someone's on our email list and bought, so I'm speaking about post-purchase emails here, these people are super high intent. They like getting our emails, so they will probably like getting our texts as well. So we want to be pushing people post-purchase who are not consented to SMS to sign up for SMS. We'll see really strong uptake there. And then also with just campaigns to our list for people who aren't consented to SMS, we can push them over there, which is a really, really strong way to just be growing our list. Like I said, people like getting your emails. They're probably going to like getting your texts as well. So it's a great time to sort of drop in and try and push them over to that list. These emails here are really strong. You can kind of just model these emails really themselves on the whole. I don't think they need to be any bit fancy. You would just make a quick landing page in Shopify. You would have an SMS embed form in there. You can just push traffic from the email list over there. It'll be a really, really effective practice. So people have now signed up for your list and they're now going to go into the main sort of engine room of the account, which is of course going to be your flows. Like we said, flows are going to have the highest ROI of anywhere within the account. So we need to nail them. And we want to make sure that we have these 7 key flows set up that I'm about to show you here. So I'm going to show you all the flows. I'm going to show you example text messages. I'm going to show you when you want to be triggering these. So the welcome series, unsurprisingly, is going to be arguably the most important flow in the entire account. It's going to be immediately post sign up to your list. So we normally like to do an MMS here on text 1. Normally a day later, we'll do another SMS, and then maybe 1 to maybe even 3 days later, we'll do our third SMS here. No images there. So you can see here on the right from Funboy here, I would probably remove this image here just to drive down our overall costs. You would not really see any difference in conversion rate, but just in the beginning, I think from a brand play, it's quite nice to do that on welcome text 1, but that's all it really needs to be here with the welcome series. Just a quick welcome email, a reminder of the offer, and then a final reminder for people also, because we want to be remaining within our 160 character limit there at all times. We then move on to the browse abandon flow, which is when someone views a product, doesn't add to cart, doesn't initiate checkout, and has not purchased just yet. So we could do an MMS here. We generally don't, but we like to just do 2 texts here, normally one day after the other. And it's just a quick reminder, and then we might introduce an incentive on the second day for people who haven't yet bought. That's been the best structure that we followed, and it's one that I would highly recommend following for your browse abandon flow too. Abandoned checkout is when someone starts a checkout and doesn't buy, and this is actually one of the only other places I would put an MMS in. So we'll just put an MMS here for image 1, and then we'll normally just a day later, we might introduce an incentive with the second text, and that will just be it. So in the US, it is better to just stick to 1 text. You can do multiple, but it's generally better to just stay safe and just do 1. Then for most places internationally, you can do up to 3 texts. So you could just do an MMS on day 0 from when they actually do abandon. The next day you can do a quick reminder and with an incentive, and then the final day you can do your final reminder there for text 3. We then move on to a flow that we don't often do. We really kind of keep this for when we're in Black Friday sort of time to get a little bit more aggressive. If you don't want to be getting aggressive, you can forget this flow. We found it to be particularly effective in terms of an upsell in SMS rather than email here. So you can see this great text example here from Dope, and you can see how they're just trying to get people to add more items into their one order that they've already made from the brand. So we would only do this for first time customers typically if we were to do it, and normally most of the time we just do this in Black Friday time because we have some amazing offers on. It's a great time to just increase the value of those customers while we're in that pretty crazy period of the year. We will generally always post purchase though do a thank you flow. It's when someone makes a purchase, and we normally just keep this to 1 text. This here is absolutely perfect, just thanks them for their recent purchase, and that's all that it needs to be. Super nice touch here, just a great flow to do to try and nurture people onto their next purchases. We'll then sometimes do shipping notifications also, which just sends them updates from your shipping software when the status of their order changes, when it's out for delivery, when it's been dispatched, these sorts of things. Just keeps people excited, and it also kind of reduces any customer support burden, because most of your tickets for any brand are going to be those pesky where's my order tickets, and this can serve to kind of cut those down over time. Finally, we have the customer win back flow, which is triggered around anywhere from between 90 to 150 days post purchase. We normally like to do around 3 texts here, maybe a 10 to even 30 day gap here, which I know sounds quite large, but it can still be quite effective. We like to spread that out and just give people a better chance of converting. And then towards the end, what you can do if you were to do 3 texts is you can just do, let's say, a 10%. You can then go out 15 days later to a 20. And then for people who you think are not coming back at all, you can go up to 25 or something like that, just as a last ditch kind of attempt to get them to come back and purchase something from the brand. So those are the flows, and those should be doing the majority of the heavy lifting within your account. They'll be working for you 24/7, 365. They don't don't get sick or anything like that. They just continue plugging away and driving revenue for you. They're automatically sending people the right message at the right time because of the actions that they've taken to actually trigger those flows. So we just need to nail our campaign sending from here, and then we have a super strong SMS strategy for our brand. So let's talk about campaigns. Campaigns are really the cherry on top within this strategy. They're generally lower ROI than the flows as we discussed. So I'm going to show you a lot of segmentation here to ensure that your ROI remains really high. Within segmentation, a lot of people think it's actually not possible for SMS just because it's not done the same way as an email. You're not going to be doing this based on opened email or open text because you can't see if someone's opened your text. Not only can you segment, but segmentation is basically everything here. We've seen around 70% of your clicks will come from between 30 and 40% of your subscribers. So segmentation has all the benefits of not annoying people and reducing your costs. So like we talked about, we want to prioritize list growth, we want to not annoy people, and we want to reduce our costs. So we want to make sure we're getting the best ROI possible. And segmentation does this in terms of not annoying people and reducing our costs. Here's how you make segments here. Engaged would just be joined SMS list in the last X days, or clicked SMS in the last X days, or active on site in the last X days, or placed order in the last X days. This is for someone who's consented to SMS. So we know that these people are engaged. We just can't see if they've opened a text. We can see if they've clicked, but not if they've opened. We have our other segments here. We can just split this up based on if they've purchased before or not. That would determine if they're a purchaser or a lead, as we would call them. You would have your last order date. You would have purchased X product to try and cross-sell them. And then you have your VIP segment. This could be for people who've purchased more than 3 times or spent more than 3x AOV with your brand in a certain time period. I do want to touch on here before I go into the exact campaigns that we would use is that you want to use your full list send sparingly. If you send campaigns to more targeted lists, you can send a bit more often. So you could do full list sends for product releases and sales. In fact, we generally do that. But for other campaigns that you're going to be sending, I would recommend not doing that. Only send your campaigns in the US at TCPA waking hours. This is between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific time. Everyone sees their texts, as we've discussed in this video, and no one wants to get a campaign at midnight, and it is also illegal. Like we said, we want to be right user, right message, right time. That's front and center in everything that we do. And you also want to keep an eye on your unsubscribe rate to gauge if you're sending too often. If you're seeing anything under 3% unsubscribe rates on your campaigns, that is generally okay. The lower the better, of course, but if it's below 3%, you're in a pretty healthy range. We would also recommend having smart sending on within your platform because we don't want people to be getting spammed with messages. And then generally speaking, you would remove people who are last 7 days purchasers and people currently in the welcome series from your campaigns, just to make sure that they're not getting bombarded with messages also. And we're just doing things in quite a tasteful way. So when to send campaigns, what are we going to be doing? So we're going to be doing sales and releases for a lot of our campaigns. We know these are going to drive ROI. We know that we can basically send to our whole list here and still see a great return on this. And it's pretty much the best way of generating an ROI. So if we have sales or product releases, these are revenue generating situations. And that means SMS campaigns are always a good idea in this case. So you can see these examples here for Canada Day. You can see a 4th of July sale. We can see here for a new product release here, a series of texts here, and you can just see how these work. And once again, I would generally recommend use SMS here. Try to remove images as much as possible and just drive down the cost of that as best as you can. If it is a new product release, maybe you could show an MMS there just to show off the product, but trust me, you really don't need to. So with product releases and sales, these are going to be ad hoc. These are just going to be slipped into your main marketing calendar depending on the cadence at which you do all of those things. If you release products often, you're going to have a ton of SMSs that are going to be really, really effective and could really help you sell out releases quite quickly also. Same thing with sales. You're going to see a lot of revenue generated there because everyone is seeing that. And same thing with sales because everyone will see the message and they're going to be interested because it is something new going on with the brand. We then have general campaigns. So when should you send these? These are not ad hoc, in your normal calendar in terms of marketing like you would have with sales and product releases. I generally recommend doing these around once per week, maybe a little bit less. I would mainly send this to your engaged segment. Maybe an engaged 180-day segment would kind of be the best here over time, but you can also play around with that. If you're seeing above a 3% unsubscribe rate, you can make that, a narrower segment. If you're seeing that you have very low unsubscribe rates, you could push that out to 240 days, maybe even longer than that, but just kind of make that in line with the engagement that you're seeing. Are you seeing good click rates? Are you seeing less than 3% unsubscribe rate? If so, you can absolutely send to that segment ongoing. So I don't love general campaigns, but they drive a lot of ROI if you have your segmentation done correctly. So some ideas here will be product highlights, direct people to blog posts, product benefit highlights, behind the scenes or educational content. And you can just see some of these texts here. So you can see from her juice bar, you can see a Valentine's Day survival guide. That's a really, really strong text to send. You can see here with some of these kind of collection plug texts here. We can see here an educational text here, which is really, really strong. And then finally here, you can just see kind of plugging that they have low stock left on a certain product. So these are really, really good evergreen campaigns that you can sort of do within your SMS marketing channel. And like I said, once per week, potentially even less. And at this point, with the strong list growth that we've gone through, with having really, really strong flows and segmentation, and now with the campaigns we're actually sending, you're going to have a super, super strong SMS marketing channel here. So let's bring it all together. A good SMS strategy will do all of the following. You'll have strong list growth through a sign up form and email marketing crossover by pushing people from your email list over to the SMS list. You'll have strong flows. You'll be sending regular campaigns, and you'll have a strong cost reduction strategy within the channel. So you'll be heavily indexed on your flows. You'll be making sure that you're very on the ball with the segmentation, minimal MMS use, and then you'll have campaigns focusing on definite revenue generating opportunities such as product releases like we spoke about. That right there is honestly it for the video. If you want this guide, you can head to the link below. Just pop in your email at the link that you see here. It is also down in the description, that link for our newsletter. So pop your email in there. You'll get a ton of free guides sent over to your email the second you sign up. You can also check out our LinkedIn's here. These will be down in the description too. And then finally, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more guides like these. We have a full course coming out soon on the channel, so that's going to be exciting. So like we spoke about, we put SMS in the same platform normally for most of our clients as their email marketing. The reason for this is that your SMS marketing channel is nowhere near as effective unless you have a super strong email program. If you want to see a super high level breakdown of how email marketing works for 8-figure brands from a top-down perspective, you can check out this video here, which goes through how we generated $6.7 million for just 3 of our clients in a 12-week period. I'll see you in that video.